Hey, what's up, studs? Ryan here, or MandRproductions, and what an eventful year 2020 was for LEGO Star Wars. Surprisingly good, in my opinion. The year did start out pretty rough with that January wave with quite a few remakes and then the Episode 9 sets that a lot of people just didn't love, but the year really rounded into shape through April and August waves. It really did come together very nicely with a couple of very awesome direct-to-consumer sets, Mandalorian sets that we didn't know about, so a lot of good stuff in 2020, and this is my worst to first list. As always, if you disagree, you can let me know in the comments below, and reasonable minds can differ. My list will not be the exact same as your list. What is our traditional worst set of the year? Because I just do not know how to compare it to anything else. It's the Advent Calendar, and I honestly think this is a really good Advent Calendar in 2020. You have the Darth Vader and Poe as your exclusive minifigures with their ugly Christmas sweaters. What an excellent touch. Along with really clean Tauntaun and Snowman Gonk builds, and then on top of that, there are actually some great vehicle builds in this one as well. So it was actually one of the better advent calendars, maybe the best advent calendar from LEGO Star Wars ever, as far as like a total package type deal with that set. Now, onto what I think is truly the worst set of 2020, and while this set is obviously not targeted towards me, I'm 23, this is a junior set, a 4+ set, that doesn't mean I can't have an opinion on it, and I think it's the worst set of the year. It looks really, really rough, and it's supposed to, but I don't care. That snowspeeder is pretty crazy looking. It's weird to see that cockpit windshield piece that they use on the normal size snowspeeders on this like microfighterized version of the snowspeeder. It's just very awkward. Then you have this turret system, which is fine, I guess, with the ice paneling, and then finally the snowtrooper speeder bike, which is just a really simple blocky build. Up next, I've got this year's May the 4th promotion. Make May 4th great again in 2021. 2020 wasn't it? It's been a long time since May the 4th has been good for LEGO Star Wars, and this was just another disastrous year in my opinion. This promo did not excite me. It's supposed to be the Death Star 2 battle with the TIE Interceptor chasing the A-Wing. You can never tell this is a Death Star, other than that it has those red accents, which I guess is indicative of it being the Death Star. It's just a gray slab with a couple of greebling pieces on it, and then you have this little turret. Like, it's just not that inspiring of a build. And let's remind you that the Advent Calendar's A-Wing was better than the A-Wing that we saw in the May the 4th build. Next up, we have Poe Dameron's X-Wing Starfighter polybag here, and this one I don't know if it really belongs to be this low, but again, these polybags and Advent Calendars, I kind of get stuck on where to put, but nice polybag, but there definitely could have been better stuff, like a Razor Crest or something they could have done as a polybag for 2020. This was the only polybag we got in 2020, so not a lot for LEGO Star Wars polybags. Usually there's like 2 or 3, so I feel like this was a low year for polys. A new line started in 2020 was the Brick Sketches, and I think one of the worst ones was the BB-8. I like the set. I actually reviewed it, and I was pretty high on it, and I still am, but I think compared to the rest of what we see from LEGO Star Wars, just ain't that great. So for $20, you basically get this slab, which has BB-8 on it, and my problem with the BB-8 is that it looks like a human character because of the way they have to shape it. The angling under his head is just really weird and really sharp when it should be rounded. For me, this one just doesn't quite compare to the other sets of the year. Now, next up, this set only ended up so low for a couple of reasons. Now, this set could have been saved. It has a wonderful design. Anakin's Jedi Interceptor here. Wonderful upgraded design. Really as close to perfect as I think you can get, other than that little sticker on the stud tile. Don't appreciate that at all. But where this one really fails to me is the minifigs. You have an Anakin minifigure that is completely inaccurate to the scene. They reused the Mustafar Anakin from earlier in 2020. They brought him into the summer 2020 set for no good reason. And then usually a set like this will have a third figure. And I think the set was really missing that third figure. You could have done any of the figure. You could have done the Coruscant Palpatine. You could have maybe given it Count Dooku so he could fight Count Dooku. I don't know. There's this whole spiel of things you could probably go through and figure out what to include with something like this as an exclusive kind of off to the side character, and they just didn't do it. So that was the most unfortunate thing about this set to me, other than the Anakin, is that they didn't include that third figure. Next up, the Resistance Y-Wing Microfighter. I wish they only put Zori Bliss in the more expensive Y-Wing. Keep that figure rare. Sometimes there is something to having rare stuff. So I think this is one of those cases where I feel like they kind of ruined a figure, where Zori Bliss could have been this really neat, like, in only one set type of figure, and then they brought her into this one, which is fine. It's great if you really want it and you're able to get it for $10. But to me, it just kind of takes away from her exclusivity or perceived exclusivity in the other set. The Y-Wing Microfighter build's actually pretty good. I like the red accents. Of course, as with all Microfighters, it's a little bit chubby though. Let's just move on. The TIE Dagger. This one was really disappointing, I think, for a lot of people. A Dorito TIE Fighter. And basically it's like 480 pieces for $80. And while the build is actually a really strong build, it just doesn't fill out for what you would want for $80. The only feature on the set is those spring-loaded shooters. So you're not really getting a lot in the way of play, like obviously swooshability, but like the only moving feature is those spring-loaded shooters. You do get 3 figures with a Knight of Ren, Finn, and a First Order TIE Pilot. The Knight of Ren, I believe, being the only exclusive figure there. So for $80 on an already overpriced set, you're getting what honestly to me is one of the lamer looking Knights of Ren. So TIE Dagger down here, and you know, pretty rough set. One of the most hated on sets of the year, I would say. Moving up next to another promo set is Yoda's lightsaber, and this one maybe if I hadn't built it yet I would have a different opinion on, but when I built this thing and finished it, I was like, oh, that's it? Okay, that's kind of lame. So yeah, Yoda's lightsaber ends up pretty far down here as well. Just not the greatest thing ever, and not everything will be, but to me, I was just really hyped on the idea of lightsaber hilts for so long that I finally got one, and now I'm kind of disappointed in what they are. I don't know what I expected, to be fair. Moving on next, we have the Armored Assault Tank, and I struggled with where to put this one, because if I'm gonna knock a set for having bad minifigures, like Anakin Starfighter, then I should reward a set that has good minifigures. However, Anakin Starfighter I think had a great set design, and this set I think has a terrible set design. The proportions on this and the markings on this are all completely wrong, and you cannot argue with that. That is a fact. You can put it next to a real 1-to-1 size AAT, and it's wrong. So you have this model which is just abysmal. It really is in every sense of the word. I hated it. I continue to hate it, and I will never like it. I'll never come around on it. It's weird that people seem to like this one, which is considerably less accurate than the 2015 one, because the 2015 one took the brunt of the hate to set a precedent for smaller AATs. I'm telling you, that's what happened. That's why this one even has people defending it. Now, that being said, the figures are great. You get a couple of AAT driver battle droids, which is nice, I suppose. But the killer thing in this set is going to be the Ahsoka Tano and Ahsoka's clone trooper, or 332nd trooper. Those things are highly desirable, highly valuable, and the main reason most people are going out of their way to buy this set, if not buy multiples of this set. LEGO will sell more of these sets than they have any right to, solely because of the exclusivity of the 332nd Trooper to this set, which maybe goes to my point about the Zori Bliss just a few sets ago, that there is something to having a figure only be in one set. Although maybe Zori Bliss is more akin to Ahsoka in this case, because she's a one-off character, not a troop massable character like a clone trooper. But that's where I've got the AAT. Definitely not my favorite set of the year by any stretch of the imagination. Great figures, god-awful build. That's my opinion on it. And we're going to flip-flop back here on the next set, the General Grievous Starfighter. $80. Definitely overpriced, but I think the AAT is overpriced too. $80 for the General Grievous Starfighter. I think this is a $60 set, not a penny more. But this set, really great build, and mediocre figures. I don't want to say terrible figures, even though I know I've been really harsh on the Obi-Wan being a reuse from Mustafar. I think that is unacceptable for LEGO, which is a premium product, whose slogan that they put in every press release they send me is, only the best is good enough. So you ask me why I keep getting triggered about this. That's why. The Airborne Clone Trooper is a really good figure. It fits in the set, however, it was not the best choice. And honestly, it kind of harkens back to the Anakin Starfighter. It's like, $80 set, maybe you should have another figure in this set. Maybe there should be 4 figures. Airborne Clone Trooper, great addition. It'd be a cherry on top if this set had the most desired figure at this current point in time. That's a Phase 2 Commander Cody. So this set left a lot to be desired. General Grievous, nice character. We've seen him before. But as far as the build goes, it's excellent. It's far and away, to me, the best General Grievous Starfighter we've ever seen. Very clean, great mix of studs and tiling on the exterior of the set. And really great new features, as in where you can store the lightsabers inside of like the wing panels or whatever. This was a Phase 2 Cody, no burn marks on Obi-Wan, and $20 cheaper away from being maybe a top 20 LEGO Star Wars set ever. Next up, the First Order Stormtrooper brick sketch. I thought this one was a lot better than the BB-8, and I really liked it, so it ends up here on the list. I don't have much to say about it. Moving on, we have Dio, $70 set, and this one caught a lot of flack too. This one was very mixed as far as the reception from people, and a lot of people thought the wheel under it was too small, and I kind of give some credence to that. I kind of agree. I did like that they included kind of a little sandy area for the stand. I also liked the UCS style platform black as usual with these sets. I thought in general it was just a really good looking build. Unfortunately, it just wasn't from the most popular movie ever from Star Wars, and people were like, oh, Dio's lame. So he kind of caught some flack for that. But in general, I think it's a nice buildable statue with some very interesting building techniques, and I enjoyed it, so it ends up here on the list. Another thing LEGO introduced for Star Wars in 2020 were these 18+ helmet collection sets, and it's tough to me. Like, the three of them are pretty close, but I think the worst one, maybe just slightly, is going to be this Stormtrooper here, and that's because I think the black and the white don't mix the best on this, and it looks a little awkward on the side of his helmet where you have those little blue stripe markings as stickers. There's just some things on this that I think could have been improved, not that I would have any idea how to improve upon them, but when comparing the helmets, I just really came to the decision that I didn't think this was the best one, and the second best helmet to me was this one, the TIE Pilot helmet. I thought it was really interesting that they ran the tubes from like the chin area all the way down into the stand, because obviously there's no torso for them to run it into like they would normally be on the actual character. And I think the all black design just really works better in this case though, because everything kind of molds together, because it's a very similar build to the Stormtrooper helmet with slight variations. And then I also really appreciated the printed Imperial pieces on the top of his head for the logo, so that was really clean as well. So I think that was just slightly better maybe, although I could definitely understand if you thought the other way around. Moving on, a set that used the proper Anakin and Obi-Wan. What do you know? The Duel on Mustafar, and this is one that I think a lot of people either love or hate, and rightfully so. It ends up kind of in the middle of the pack on my list here, more or less for that reason, and I'm split on it too, right? It is definitely not the most beautiful Mustafar scene we've ever seen as far as like the build goes, but this one aesthetically is very interesting. It's got quite a mix of colors with the black, the red, the trans orange, like looks really nice in that way, and the reason this set does not bottom out is because of its play features. It has the things that Anakin and Obi-Wan take a ride on the lava river, and you can basically slide them up and down and have them fight each other, and I thought that that was a really interesting and unique play feature to this set that we haven't really seen before, and for that reason I had to get it in here pretty high up on the list. Maybe it deserves to be higher. I don't know. I think if the build had been more fleshed out, like a lot of people were wishing coming into this, it would have been higher, but I think for $20, you get what you pay for, and that's just not a giant, elegant build, but it's still a fun and playable build. Moving on, we have the T-16 Skyhopper versus a Bantha Microfighters. This is kind of surprising to see, but there had kind of been a precedent set in 2019 with the Dewback. The Bantha was the first time we've ever seen a Bantha in LEGO, and that was awesome. Hopefully we'll see more of that in the future. And then, of course, the T-16 Skyhopper in this smaller scale actually translated pretty well, especially with those stud shooters on the side. Tusken Raider, great figure inclusion, and then of course the Skyhopper pilot you had to have on that T-16 Skyhopper. Moving on, Luke's Land Speeder. Now this one, for all the memes and the fact that I think it was released too soon, it does make sense. Now, with the Mos Eisley Cantina, they didn't include a Luke's Land Speeder, but you still need a Luke's Land Speeder to be available alongside it. I don't like that it was released so soon, but I understand it. And one good thing about the set is that you get the Luke with the poncho. We don't get the poncho in any other set with Luke Skywalker, so that's a great inclusion. And then the Jawa little cave there is nice, but I think the biggest thing in this set to me is that Luke's Land Speeder. As far as the design of that goes, it is far and away the best design of Luke's Land Speeder we've ever had. It's really great looking. It really is. Decent value at $30. And this is a great point to me about my Anakin's Jedi Interceptor, where it's like you have this $30 set, you should get the one extra figure. And in this case, it's like the Jawa, which isn't the best figure ever, but at least you get the extra figure. Moving on, we have Obi-Wan's hut, just kind of a sliver above that Luke's Land Speeder, maybe because in a $30 set, all of a sudden we have 4 figures. What do you know, Anakin's Interceptor? I love trashing on sets just for the fun of it, and then people in the comments get actually mad about it. I'm waiting. I'll see you there. But this is great. You have the training droid for Luke to work with. You have the Princess Leia hologram. You have some blue milk, which I guess is nice, but it's not printed like the one we'll be getting with the Skywalker Saga bonus figure. The set actually opens up really nicely and can also close up and be like a completely closed up hut. So it's kind of like the Mos Eisley Cantina that we're getting to, where you can kind of close it up, have it look like the normal thing, but also open it up and have it be this really expansive playset. Not super expansive in this case because of how small it is, but it still kind of opens up and allows for a lot better access to the interior, which is surprisingly accurate to what you see in A New Hope. I went and looked. This thing is not too far off. Moving on, we have Poe Dameron's X-Wing fighter here. $90 set. Poe Dameron, Janna, another Knight of Ren, and another R2-D2. I'm pretty sure R2-D2 is the only character that has been released every year of LEGO Star Wars, if you didn't know that. And so far on this list, we've already seen him 3 times. But this X-Wing had the really nice change to the engine design. that kind of improved upon over the previous two models of these Resistance X-Wings. The color scheme is kind of iffy for me and probably some others. I thought the blue accent was a little bit weird. It didn't quite match like this orange and white aesthetic. Like that light blue just is a weird color to throw in there, but it doesn't look terrible, and I think that's worth noting. The spring-loaded shooters were nicely placed underneath the wings. You had stud shooters on the side of the cockpit, of course, the landing gear. The wings can open and close with that nice little bar behind the cockpit. A really well-rounded set, as you would expect. Very refined based on the previous designs. And really the only fault of this set was that it was the third Resistance-style X-Wing in 5 years. Moving on. Knights of Ren Transport Ship, $70 set. A lot of people were hoping this would be more expensive, myself included. Included 2 Knights of Ren in array. Maybe disappointing on that figure count, especially at $70. But the build, at least externally, looked really good, really sharp, nice and menacing, like you would want the Knights of Ren Transport Ship to look like. But this set really lacked one thing, and that was interior space. This could have been a great set. I think if they had made it $90, $100 and given it more to the interior, but this thing just didn't have a lot going for it on the inside. You had a little jail cell, and then you could basically pop the 2 Knights of Ren into the top of the ship and they would poke out, and that was kind of it. So it left a lot to be desired as far as that goes, but to me, on the merits of being like a good looking display piece, and that's what I really care about mostly, it definitely delivered on that. Moving on, we have a battle pack from earlier this year, the Sith Troopers battle pack. I actually really liked this one. You got a couple of Sith Jet Troopers, 1 Sith Trooper, and then the Sith Trooper Officer. I wish there had been 2 Sith Troopers and 1 Sith Jet Trooper like the other way around, but it is what it is. You have this really nice First Order Snowspeeder inspired speeder design that actually fits really well for whatever reason with these guys. I just like the battle pack. I thought it was really cool to get some basically red clone troopers. I have no qualms with that. A late addition to the 2020 lineup was the Nebulon-B Frigate, and this turned out to be a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive running $40 and had the same 40th anniversary Empire Strikes Back logo that we saw on many other sets throughout the year. The set itself doesn't include any minifigs or anything and has a semi-awkward looking stand, but for being the first ever Nebulon-B Frigate in LEGO Star Wars, I think LEGO pretty much nailed the look for what is essentially a MIDI scale set. It's one that I like and hope to maybe eventually see in UCS form someday, even though the gunship had to take it out in the vote back in January. Straight from Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, we had the Resistance ITS Transport. Right now we're at the 14th best set of the year. It was very close to me for being a top 10 set and could have been a top 10 set. It was $100 for 932 pieces, and I still feel very much that it's worth that money. But being the lone Galaxy's Edge set, maybe in the future we get something with this character, but Hondo is Galaxy's Edge like guy, right? He runs the place basically, and it would have made a lot of sense to have him in this set as the lone Star Wars Galaxy's Edge set, and it was just kind of disappointing to me to see them not include that character here. It is one of those things that just made sense to me looking from the outside in, and for whatever reason, LEGO did not include it here, but it looks really good externally, and it has one of the strongest designs for a LEGO Star Wars set I have ever felt. You gotta work really hard to make this thing break. Like, you can hold it basically anywhere. There's a reason it doesn't have a little handle to hold it by. Usually sets like this would have a handle. This one doesn't have a handle because it's well strong enough to hold basically anywhere and not break, so I really appreciated that about this set. Just missing a figure or two. Moving on, the Mandalorian and the Child BrickHeadz. This is the one version of the pram that we have in LEGO as of now in 2020, and of course the Mandalorian looks really good in the BrickHeadz form, much like the Boba Fett Mandalorians of years past. It transfers very well here. Baby Yoda, very cute also, and you can flip his ears to kind of allow him to show some form of expression. So definitely the best BrickHeadz we've had, probably from LEGO Star Wars. Really loving that one. Moving on, best helmet set of the year, going to be the Boba Fett helmet. This one, like a lot of sets, got mixed reviews from people and comments and whatnot, but I like the way it turned out. I think they have a really nice curve on his like cheekbones, and then you have the nice dark red contrasting with the black and the sand green. I just think the coloring on it worked out really well. And then of course you have the rangefinder on his head, which can actually drop down and go right in front of his eyes there. So that is pretty sweet. I like the set, and definitely to me the best and probably the most popular helmet set because he is the one named character that we did get out of this line of helmet sets. Here we have the Kylo Ren Shuttle Microfighter. I'm a sucker for the Kylo Ren Shuttle and most of his stuff because I just love the color scheme with the black and the translucent red. Just looks absolutely killer. I almost wish they had, and I know this is a very easy change to make yourself, but use some red studs for these stud shooters. At number 10, we have the Child from The Mandalorian. This is a set that I think came out pretty damn good. Now, the one issue with it, like a lot of people have, is his head looks a little bit squished, like it got stomped on. Could have been a plate or two higher in that regard, but I don't think that's the biggest deal. I think this set actually came out excellently. He looks super cute. His ears can move, his mouth can move, his head can move, basically everything you can ask for there, and then you can move his little hands. He has the Razor Crest shifter knob in his hand there, and you also get the Child minifigure in the cheapest set it has come in to date here in 2020, and then with that you have the UCS style plaque. So really great all-around set, and for $80 I think it was a very fair price for almost 1,100 pieces. On with number 9 here, we have the Mandalorian Battle Pack, and this one gets all sorts of nostalgia points. There was a Battle Pack in 2011 that was basically just like this. You had a turret, you had a speeder, which was the same design, just not as good as this one, and then you had the 4 Mandalorians. In this case, they went for a different aesthetic, obviously different color speeder, different style kind of turret area where you would place the stud shooter in, and then all of the Mandalorians are different colors, unlike the original Mandalorian Battle Pack, which is good or bad depending on who you ask, or maybe both can be good. I thought the coloring on these guys was a little bit too vibrant, but to me at the end of the day, I still think it's an excellent Battle Pack from the Mandalorian and worked out really well for 2020. It was one of the most popular sets early on in the year. Moving on, number 8, the Bespin Duel set from the 40th anniversary of Empire Strikes Back. This is an 18+ set, and I think this is such a great concept. I really hope to see more things like this in the future, but at $40, definitely could be considered pricey by some, but I think you have to consider what it is. It's a premium product, and this one certainly delivers on that front. It is the best Bespin Duel build we've ever had. It's very bulky, very nice, well built. The Darth Vader has the arm printing, which we only see in one other set from summer of 2020. And then the Luke was the Master Builder series, Cloud City Luke. So bringing these characters into cheaper sets, I think in this case was a very good thing, and looks great. Really great build. So very impressed with this one. And moving on, number 7, we have the Sith Mosaic set. And this one, I really struggled with where to put because obviously it's not quite the same as all these other system scale sets, but I think this set really thrives on its versatility. You can have it be Darth Vader. You can have it be Darth Maul, or you can have it be Kylo Ren. You get options, and I think that's a great thing. That's something you don't see all of the time in LEGO sets anymore, and that's something they brought in here with this. I think this is a premium product too at $120 for sure, 18+. But you get those options, and then on top of that, I think the killer thing is that if you put 3 of them together, you can make this giant Darth Vader build. So you basically get a 4-in-1 set where you have a lot of options to do things with this set, and I think that's one of its biggest strengths, on top of being really good-looking mosaics from afar. At number 6 here, we have the Death Star Final Duel, and this is the other set with that arm-printed Darth Vader. Now, this is a very close remake to a 2015 version of this set, but it made sense to me, timing-wise. They're bringing a lot of new adult sets out this year, and with a lot of new adult fans, you'd probably want to put out a set that adult fans are going to want to buy, but also kids could want to buy, because this set has all those classic Episode 6 Final Duel characters, which the new AFALs are going to want, of course, and then it also has this really excellent playset build. It really is. It has so many play features, and I really liked it. I thought it was a really clean looking set. Look forward to more stuff potentially like this in the future. Moving into the top 5 now with the Razor Crest here. $130, so definitely expensive, but the build was surprisingly big. I was really happy when I finished this build, and it was just this massive thing that didn't even fit in the bin I had thought I was going to put it in. The engines look great, other than maybe the back end of the engines. I think that may be the biggest downside of this build. Externally, it's really clean looking. It's got the really gray, kind of dirty look with some tan stickers. It's got a printed cockpit piece, which is always great. And then on the interior of the set, you have a couple of carbonite pieces. You have a weapons rack. You have a little like ladder leading up into the cockpit, of course, and then you have a nice little bunk area for the Mandalorian. So well-rounded interior space, in my opinion. The figures in this set do leave something to be desired. It may be the reason this didn't end up as number 1 on the list, you know? It was kind of close, but not quite. It could have used a speeder bike for that scout trooper, and we could have used the Mandalorian in Beskar armor, and then I think Queel would have been nice. So while I think it's a great set, I think, again, it just barely falls short of being, like, perfect. Speaking of perfect, at number 4, hello, 2020 AT-AT. Really good set. Now, I wish there were more snowtroopers as usual. They had seats for more snowtroopers, but there aren't more snowtroopers in the set, you know. But this is by far the most accurate AT-AT we've ever had. Externally, it doesn't make, like, huge jumps or improvements as far as, like, the way it looks. Like, it still looks like an AT-AT, right? Like the other AT-ATs have. But I think this set really kills it in the interior sections. It has the proper color seating on the inside. It has an area for your speeder bike to be placed into the back of the AT-AT, just like with the real thing. And then you also have a winch that pulls Luke up and into the belly of the AT-AT to have him throw his thermal detonator in that he cuts open with the lightsaber. That they actually have a piece that you can drop down to have thrown in there. And then a lot of people really love the fact that you can put General Veers and 2 AT-AT pilots in the head of the AT-AT for the first time, so fitting 3 figures in there. While tight fit, they did fit, and it's an excellent set. It really is. $160, definitely the most expensive AT-AT we've ever had, but it is probably the best, most accurate AT-AT we've ever had as well. Moving on to number 3 here, the UCS A-Wing, and this one is magnificent looking. The red and the white obviously contrast very well, but they were able to get the angle on the wings. The cannons on either side of the A-Wing can actually flip up, which apparently is a thing in actual Star Wars. You have some really great building techniques all throughout the set, which I can't even begin to describe, but if you've ever built this for yourself, you know what I'm talking about. Like, to get all those angles there, it's not like it's just a classic, 1990s build, right? There's some real work and love put into this one. The cockpit seat, of course, nice and large, and then you have your stand for the A-Wing with the A-Wing pilot standing on the stand. And these top 2 sets, if you know LEGO Star Wars for 2020, you know what 2 sets are left here. And I thought about this for a while. And at number 2, the Mos Eisley Cantina. I think this set is like 3 figures not being reused and given like exclusive prints away from being number 1. You do get 7 new minifigures in the set that we've never had before. Bunch of aliens from the Cantina, which is great. Bunch of aliens from the Cantina and the Imperial Spy. Imperial Spy being probably the highlight for a lot of people, although Wooher and Ponda Baba also getting a lot of love. But the rest of the figures in this set, while not being the worst thing ever, are all just reuses. We've A, seen them before, and B, seen them before in their exact format. And that's fine, but it's also not ideal. I think most people would prefer to get new and exclusive prints over the same old, especially for a character like Greedo, where you could have had this chance to have an exclusive Greedo with arm printing in this set. The 2004 Greedo had arm printing. What happened? So there's just little things like that to me in this set that could have made it better, but as far as the build goes, it's just really amazing. It's stunning. Honestly, the interior space on this set leaves nothing to be desired to me. It just got so much going on. So for the base of the Cantina build, it's excellent, and it can spread its wings like a butterfly and fully open up like a playset should, and you can play with the interior and whatnot. You've got these really nice vaporators. You have a great addition on the side for the dewback, and the dewback has like a little water area and a little bone to play with. And the final kind of part of this set is that Jawa shop. I think that was a great part of the set as well. It just adds that extra bit of playability. Finally here at number 1, are you surprised? The 501st Battle Pack gets my vote for the best set of 2020. We finally got what we'd been asking for, and I think that has to be represented here. I think with these videos, I take in all factors of what a set is, when it was last made. Everything is considered for my ranking of these. And for this, I think LEGO giving the fans what they want is definitely something that puts this set way up already, and I think they did it in a really great way. You got what to me is a way better value than the last ATRT style set we had, and then on top of that, you're getting a awesome 501st Jet Trooper, which is not something I expected to be in a set like this, but here he is, and he looks great. They have that blue jetpack piece for the first time ever. Looks wonderful in blue. Could have gone for some hip printing on these figures. I think that is maybe the one thing missing, but other than that, still really excellent looking. I think changing up the faces underneath the clone helmets was a really good decision as well. The speeder bike design, really good, really strong build, great stud shooters on the front, great coloring on these builds as well, and that ATRT is definitely the best ATRT build we've ever had, in my opinion. Other than the stud shooter on the front, that was definitely a lackluster part of the build, but I really appreciated things like the antennas on the back not being able to be knocked off so easily, as well as when you take the clone trooper out of his seat, if you have him holding onto the handlebar, the design is much less apt to tear apart. They also really cleaned up the front paneling design. They made it really tight there. And that is my list of worst to first LEGO Star Wars sets for 2020. Let me know, what is your favorite set of 2020? A lot of great sets this year, though. I mean, if you look at the top 15 sets of the year, at least on my list here, I think there's a lot of great stuff. And even in that bottom 10 range with that Anakin's Interceptor, the AAT, the General Grievous Starfighter, some of those helmets, that, like, they're not terrible sets. Like, they made a lot of really good stuff this year, and it really shows. So let me know in the comments below what you agree with, what you disagree with, whatever you want to say. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, leave a like if you enjoyed, and you can check out other LEGO Worst to First videos on the end screen now. Peace out.